Welcome to Total Disruption, Dr. Jacob Clendenning. How are you today, Dr.
Mike, I
Jake?
I am doing brilliant. So that Mike brings up a great point. We wanted to start talking about a little bit, and literally, he's not kidding. I will go as far as to go that far for you guys. That is a recent thing. That is a grind on it in the background, get it done, make sure it's possible, do the things, and guess what? You get the things done.
There you
So
go.
that was a very exciting way to announce that particular piece. That's true. That is a thing now. Doctorate in business administration. So thanks, man.
Does that mean like you're a business administrator, like you can run a business or something? What does that mean, business administration? I don't even know what the hell that means.
So that's basically well, it's exactly what we're going to talk about today. It's personality development. It is talking about communication skills. It is talking about leadership skills. It is talking about organizational development at the absolute highest level, as well as here's the reality every single business talks about these things, whether you're a startup, an entrepreneur, or you're a multi billion dollar business. They all have these core things in place. And this is the I don't want to say this gives me permission to talk about it because I've been talking about it. This is all Mike and I talk about.
Right.
This is the validation. This is the credibility. This is the recognition, and we talk about that all the time too. So this is the document that says from a university and from a staff and an alumni that says, oh, he does know what he's doing. Is essentially what that basically means for those that
Really?
are yeah, right.
You-
Really, when it comes right down to it, from a very conservative, very conventional background of there's people that want to see the piece of paper.
Hold on,
Proof to
time
me with
out.
the document.
Stop with all that. You've been waiting this whole time to tell us that now you have the authority to tell to talk about this, man. Like, what are we doing? It's like
Literally that. Literally that.
he, he holds up a piece of paper, said, "All right, this gives me the authority to be able to talk about it." No way, man. That's hilarious.
Isn't it though?
So this whole time, I thought you knew what you were doing. I just needed to see
I know.
that
I assumed I did too. I assumed I
that
did too.
illuminated plaque to, or whatever you call that thing. What is it called? Laminated, not illuminated, laminated.
Yep.
So the personality development, right? Enough with you accolades for you. And make exhaust. You know
I
what?
got enough of
It exhausts me to pay others anything accolades. So let's get back to me and let's get back to what I want to talk about. All right, personality development. I heard this is a trending thing. Personality development. It's basically a summary of personal development, and I feel like it's taken on a new life, and I'm happy for it. I like new. I like when something old gets repackaged and it gets introduced to a new audience, reworded slightly. However, everything needs a little refresh. Even the paint, right? The decoration in a room. Everything needs a refresh.
it.
People, new haircuts, new hairstyles. Unfortunately, I don't fall in that category, but everything needs a refresh. Okay. So personality development, right? To focus on skills, time management, life management, self esteem, the way you're doing things, the whole nine yards. So your approach to the world. And something we heard earlier in a different conversation, right? Suggests that your personal growth is the same thing as your business growth, right? So personal and professional have that tie in. Well, when I tell you about personality development and Dr. Clendenning, what I'm going to say that from now on, doctor, like in this ominous tone, and I lean into the mic at Dr. Clendenning. What do you see what's your take on that, man? Are you a fan of this new spin on an old thing?
I am. I really am because, and you're right. It's a refresh. It's a remodel. It's an update. Whatever you want to look at. I don't want to say it makes what's old new again because that's not necessarily true. I think it's just bringing it back to awareness. I think it's just bringing it back to front of mind. And we talked, like you said, we talked a lot about this as an earlier conversation. And if we just go to leadership skills, if we just go there and we just focused on that, even though, like you said, it's leadership skills, it's your ability to communicate, It is your ability to connect. It is also your organization. There are development pieces that are in there. But if we just go to leadership, one of the biggest pieces with leadership is your ability to connect with your, call it your audience or your staff or your company or your organization, whoever you may be with. And that's this, what we're going to start calling our KLT, which is, we're doing the same thing. We're repackaging know, like, and trust. We've heard know, like, and trust endless and countless amounts of times from all the coaches that know it's a critical factor. And we're just going to shorten it. We're going to go acronym. We're going to say KLT on it. Leadership skills, when you are developing your skills to be known, liked, and trusted, means you also have to know, like, and trust your people. So to earn trust, you must give trust. To be liked, you must like. To be known, you must know. That's where I'm going at this particular space in this personality development, much to the degree of, and you guys have heard me talk about this before, your business is not about you. It doesn't have a dang thing to do with you, quite honestly. If you didn't have customers or clients, you'd have a hobby. And a lot of you don't have customers and clients, you just have a really expensive hobby, is what you're doing. So that's because your customers there's no KLT. They either don't know you, they don't like you, or they don't trust you. One of the three. If they don't have all three of those in that triangle, you don't have customers. But the same is true going outwardly. How are you demonstrating? How do you know your clients? Do you like the audience you're working with in the space that you're in? Do you trust them? And that's going to come back to you. So I look at that from an energy perspective, I guess.
Ooh, energy, doctor. All right, so
You're having way too much fun with that.
I know everything now has this air of instant credibility. Jake's sky blue. Okay,
Did you
Doctor
say
Clendenning, I
incredibility?
agree.
Because I felt that too.
Uh-huh. All right, so if I run this by you, it's an energy thing, right? I caution though, right? Because I've done this before. I caution folks. There's a too down the path, too much personal development. You can get stuck in just kind of studying personal development, and then it becomes a hobby. There's
Mm-hmm.
obviously a mature balance between how much of the good stuff you're studying, how much you're applying, and it's almost like learn, do, learn, do, learn, do, learn, do, fail, learn, do, succeed, learn, do, fail, learn, do, succeed pattern going on, right? The learn, do is the biggest thing. When I was growing my own coaching business, and even when I was growing back in the decades before the fitness business, I would learn really, really, really high level things that were beyond fitness and therapy. When you have therapy techniques, they're a lot different. The responsibility is a little bit different. And when I was in these areas that I didn't know anything about, and I was applying, the only reason I got really proficient at doing the thing was because I applied the same basic things over and over and over again every day. I learned, I did, I learned, I did. I didn't know everything. I still had to look back at notes. Hell, I still look at books. And
Mm-hmm.
and back in the therapy days, there was anatomy books everywhere, and there was thought process books everywhere. There'd be stacks of them in the office, just opening the book up and okay, where's the semitendinosis, right? Where's the origin and insertion of this muscle, and what does it do again, and how is it functioning, and relative to the bigger picture. I caution personal development. What are we calling it now? What's it called now?
Personality development is the
Personality
new
development.
term.
Okay, personality development's good. Learning, time management, learning. I don't want to go bogged down in this message, but too much of the, how can you say this? Too much of sort of the administrative part of it, the studying part of it. You see how I did that there? The administrative part of it. Too much of the school is no good. You have to go out and do. And I'd rather have you, as an audience member listening in, I'd rather have you do 50% of the education and then 100% of the application than 100% of the education and 25% of the application, because there's that delta of retention, right? There's that skill of retention. So now I'm in the weeds a little bit here. Not really. What are you hearing?
No, I don't think you're in the weeds at all. So I love what you said about I would rather you see, and again, this is that very non-conventional way of thinking about things. However, it is a current way of thinking about how this is. Like if you only apply academia and that's all you do, you're not you're learning, you're gaining knowledge, but you're not applying that knowledge. How are you impacting? What are you doing with it? What are you doing with that knowledge? How are you impacting others? How are you serving others? How are you serving the world? How are you doing your job while you're on this planet? So where Mike's talking about, I love the way you said, I'd rather see you do 50% of the education and apply it versus 80% of the education and only apply 25, or 100% and only apply 25%. That's what we see. Like we see that constantly. We see it out of our other show. We see it from our coaching clients is the emphasis on the education, the emphasis on the knowledge, but the lack of willingness to go out and apply it. So let's dig down that rabbit hole because I think you're totally accurate, Mike. If we look at like if I dig back into this and I think about it, I think the answer is pretty simple here as far as why people don't apply it. They learn the thing but don't apply it. And I can look back at me in high school, like any of the all the way back in education. I would learn the thing, but why didn't I apply it? I think the answer is one word. And it's more than one word, but it's fear. But it's the fear. Everybody says it's fear of failure, but that's the lie. It's the fear of success. Fear of failure happens. We crash and burn all the bloody time. Like it's the fear of success. I know the thing, but I've never succeeded at that level. I don't know what that would be like. Like, what happens then? We don't know because we've never felt it. So I think it has to deal with that. That's why they don't apply it. People get stuck in academia versus going out and going, you know what? I'm going to crash that dirt bike 50 times to learn how to go around that one corner. I am going to tear myself up, learn to go around that corner until I get around that corner. And then what happens when you get around that corner? You keep going around that corner. This is like everybody remember. I'm not going off the rails. I'm trying to give you a couple different examples. Remember the 4 minute mile? Everybody remember the 4 minute mile? Everybody said it was impossible. Couldn't possibly run a mile in under 4 minutes. Nobody could do it. Nobody could do it. It isn't possible, can't be done. It's because nobody knew how to do it. Like everybody was doing the education, they were running that just above 4 minute mile. And then finally, the dude figured out it's not about running a mile in 4 minutes, it's about running a quarter mile in less than a minute. So he just put those together and put those together and put those together. And then he broke that barrier. The second he broke that barrier, everybody and their brother could do it. And we've got what? Olympic athletes that are now running it in like sub 340s. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
331 or some insane number. I mean, we've knocked another 30 seconds off of that belief, but academia told us you couldn't do it. So that would be my example of too much education and lack of application.
Well, okay. So I have a great anecdote for that, and it is called Boardroom Battleground. Speaking of application and education,
Funny how that
if
works.
you, I promise you guys it wasn't a lead in, but this is the quintessential peak of what Jake and I are discussing here is Boardroom Battleground. And if you're in the world of wanting people to know, like, and trust you better, gaining more visibility, understanding the profitability behind the visibility and transaction balance, that's right where Boardroom Battleground comes in. What Jake and I have assembled is a team of people that is a fractional board of directors that puts you through a 12-week show and gives you instant visibility, instant credibility, instant, just about everything your business needs for that PR boost. However, the coaches and the system is in place so that you take that visibility and you believe in yourself more. right? You take and enhance your authenticity, and you enhance your alignment with your brand and your brand story. If you're struggling in any phase of this scenario I just laid out, you click the link below here, or not even the link, scan the QR code, or go to www.total-disruption.com, find the boardroom battleground tab, click it, and go. Jake, what am I missing?
You didn't miss anything. I would, sticking back to the analogy, I would tell you the vast majority of the business owners, you're running a 5 or 6 minute mile. By all, you're doing average, you're doing good. You run above the average American. If you go right over here and you apply, this is how you run the sub 4 minute mile. This is that. This is what that is built for to do. This is to throw off that academia, the throw off the shackle of you can't do that in your market. And yeah, you can.
Well, for those of you that are on the fence, it can't hurt to apply. Direct messages on our social channels. Find us, and we'll entertain talking to you about this whole thing. We're happy to hear.
Yep.
We're happy to help. We're here for you. We've created this thing. Our contestants right now are. I can't wait till you guys hear the testimonials about what we have going on in season 1. It's going to be fantastic. Anyways, meet us there and get off the bench and get in the game. All right. So now, as we move into putting some of these concepts together, uh, we're talking about 50% of the education, this and that and the other thing. I have a strategy. So when I was learning these different techniques in terms of therapy back when I was evolving my career for the second time, and what I meant by back up a minute, when I went and I meant by evolving my career, in every business there are several different markets in each business. And in the fitness back 20, 30 years ago, there was fat loss. There was something called movement style training where it helped people kind of move better. And then there was sort of injury management, which is rehabilitative and post, which means after you go to physical therapy and then you're trying to exercise more or live your life again. It all works under all circumstances, but there are these mental categories. And when you're trying to leave one area, the credibility in another is really difficult to establish. I was leaning into, when I was learning this, I wasn't leaning into fear of failure. I was leaning in a desire for to prove myself to who I don't know, but to prove myself that I could learn these techniques, apply them with success, duplicate the results, and then create a greater impact. I was quite frankly kind of bored with just working people out.
Mhm.
It was an amazing experience, but it just got old. People made transformations. I was their emotional coach. I was their mental coach. I was their physical coach. But I leaned into, for the next phase, I leaned into proficiency, proof, and then duplicatability, right? Repeatability. So the
Repeatability.
hack
Mhm.
there, the hack there is, if you have a fear of success, make it a game about repeatability. Make it a game about saying, I'm gonna learn these skills. I'm gonna go out and do them. I'm not trying to prove, because I don't know who the hell I was trying to prove myself to, right? The other 52 people I worked around in the building, right? The other 52 average Joes who were training clients and doing things. No, I didn't care, right? What was I gonna do? Prove it to them that I could do something else? Why? They weren't paying my bills. I wasn't paying their bills. They weren't a threat to me. I wasn't a threat to them. I don't know why I felt peer pressure. So when you hear me say these things, Jake, I'm gonna knock it back to you. What do you think there, Doctor Clendenning?
I always love how absolutely straight you are with where you were at the time as you come through that. It's one of the things I respect the absolute most out of you, and just absolutely just total transparency in everything that you do. And that's absolutely true. And it's been awesome. So there's so many good things that are in there that are about that. So I'm trying to figure out where to start without going off the rails. Let's put it that way. I'm trying to control it. We got 8 minutes, man.
You're a doctor, man. You can't do anything wrong.
I get, yeah, yeah, oh yeah, I can. I'm pretty good at that. So you talked about a couple things relative to changing your audience. right? And but it was a next iteration. It wasn't I took the audience I cut them off at the legs and I threw them in the dumpster, and then I started a whole new thing. That isn't what it was. This was okay, there's a segment of the audience of your current following that likely did not come with you. That may be true, but you had to grow your audience you had to continue to grow, which meant more personality development, more growth, more area, more knowledge. And so give me the three again. The three things that you had,
So
because I wanted to use a
essentially,
different word for the last one.
essentially, I mean, there's tons of subsets, but in the environment I was in, there was the sort of the physical fitness working people out for sort of body health and weight loss. There's 30 subsets to that. There's athletic training, there's performance enhancement, there's speed coach. For the general genre of what I was in, that was that area. Then there was this sort of post rehabilitative formula, right? Where you'd go into physical therapy and rehab, right? And then you would come out looking to do other things. And then there was just your general fat loss, right? There was, I need to lose 40 pounds. I want to go see a trainer or a fitness professional or a wellness pro. So there's those three areas. And smart business people blended them all, but I was going away from the weight loss area just because that's a whole nother animal that I didn't want to spend the time to write out diet plans because I didn't see the ROI in that. And I just return on investment and building someone to work them out and then managing their diet on the back end. It was very, from a work to effort to impact standpoint, wasn't in my alignment. So I moved into the let's move into this therapeutic area, this dark area. Now it's massive. Now there's all these now hands-on manual therapy and all. It's a massive industry. It was a nothing industry when I started. So there's your three areas generally.
So that's what it is. And there's where Mike said it, and you heard it say it again. It wasn't in alignment with him at the time of where he was going to go. So that's where I talk about, we go back to the KLT, that know, like, and trust. At that point, Mike did not fully like what he was doing. Like, he didn't want to go down the fat loss area because that just wasn't his thing. He wasn't in alignment. And that's going to show up. Like, that'll show up. If you don't like what you're doing, it's going to show up to your audience. It's going to show up to your client base. And guess what's going to happen to your business? It's going to go down. So you've got to be in alignment. So that's why we're kind of running down this KLT range in this personality development. Again, under the leadership category of, you got to like what you do. Mike said, okay, you got to know what you're doing. Well, 50% of the education, do I know what I'm doing? Am I confident? Is it 40? Is it 60? It's for each person, it's going to be a different thing. In knowing what I know, and that I know how to apply it, am I good with it? Am I confidently demonstrating that to my audience? Can they see it? Can they feel it? Is it resonating with them? Do I like what I'm doing? If I go to work every day and I'm like, oh my God, this sucks, how do I show up? How do my clients feel about that? They're not going to like me as a trainer. They're not going to like me as a coach. They're not going to like me as a personality. And do I trust myself to do the things I know I need to do? So there's a different spin on that. Like, we hear it all the time of, your clients have to know, like, and trust you. I believe that's Stephen Covey, as I recall. I'm probably wrong and I'm probably misquoting, but I think that's where it comes from. But it's been much longer than that. But that's a basic concept. What I'm saying, and I'm using Mike as the example here, is flip that on its head. How are you liking? How are you knowing? How are you liking? How are you trusting yourself such that you are showing up in such a way that your clients are like, man, I'm all in. This is awesome. I'm all in. I'm engaged. I want to do the thing. That's the spin I want to throw on this today. In this, again, repurposing, rehabbing, just from where Mike talked about, hey, it's personal development, and now the term for today is personality development. We're taking know, like, and trust, and we're calling it the KLT. It's not that it's new information, but it might be new information to you. And it's the first time that you've heard it. And that's what's important, as long as you're hearing it. At some point, I mean, there was how much here's a good one. Here's a question for you. In all honesty, so what's a piece of advice that you heard, no, I wouldn't say heard, that you had heard said almost your whole life, and until within the last 5 years, at one point you just went, oh, that's what that means.
My dad used to say all the time, "You have to pay yourself first," and I never knew what the hell he meant. And in the last 5 years, I understand now what he meant. Besides, with savings, investment from every dollar you get. Either I'm dumb or he could have worded it a little bit differently. But I really understand. I see, because I've had the span of decades now in business of being, obviously getting paid. I'm like, wow, well, that makes perfect sense. Pay yourself first, because he really meant was, don't blow that money, put it in some sort of annuity, retirement, and pay yourself before you take a dollar. And in the last 5 years, that really hit. It's really hit. So, what about you?
And
While
that's
we're
and that's a
going
good
through
one,
it
man.
again.
I totally agree with that. And I would say it has nothing to do with our level of intelligence, our IQ, how dumb we are. We call ourselves that. And it's fun to self-deprecating humor, but the the reality is you weren't ready to hear it till you were ready to hear it. It had to be repackaged. It had to be said in a different way. Somebody else had to say it to him. You know what? My dad used to say that all the time. So and I'll give you one of my dads. We're coming up on, honestly, we're coming up on 25 years ago. I lost my dad, but I think about him every
Ouch.
day. And one of his favorite sayings all the time, I didn't have a clue what it meant at the time, was persistence will piss a hole in a mighty big rock. He said that to me like daily. Persistence will piss a hole in a mighty big rock. I didn't have a clue what that meant at the time. And then I honestly, the first time I sort of understood it was in a movie called How to Train Your Dragon. Um, it was a kids movie. I was sitting there watching that movie. There's all kinds of great adult humor in there, but his stoic's father told him, you can, if to go beat your head against a rock every day. And he did that. He hit his head against the rock, and eventually the rock broke. And what that taught him was that Vikings can move mountains and they can tame seas, and that's what Dad was talking about. And I didn't understand that literally probably till the last 5 years of sometimes you have to keep doing it. It's not a matter of, insanity of doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result, but sometimes you have to keep trying. Like, you just have to keep pushing. You have to keep doing it. I'm not saying do the same thing all the time, but it is all right, adjust and change. Use scientific methodology for this of, all right, I did A through D and it failed. So I'm going to change A into a different letter and do B, C, and D. Okay, it still failed. I'm going to put A back and I'm going to change out B. Do one change at a time. Don't just throw the baby out with the bathwater, much like Mike was talking about. And we're right there, where I know we're at the end of the day, where Mike was talking about he had to adjust his business in the space. He didn't just crash his business to the ground, burn it out, and go, I'm going to change my audience. I'm going to change everything. He made an adjustment, which
Yep.
to something that he liked to do in the space he knew.
Well, Jake, that was pretty powerful. Thanks, man. And I think we're out of time. So, on behalf of Jake Clendenning, my name is Mike Libersi. Thanks for tuning in to Total Disruption. Now it's your turn to disrupt.